Morning everyone, my name is Audrey. I'm Stitchywitch42 here on flosstube and over on Instagram. This is my channel about cross-stitch, life, the universe, and everything. And as I have been, I'm starting with life because I'm wearing a hat. Chemo, hair loss. I'm at bad comb-over stage. So, it's just so weird. So, hat, Salem Broom Company. Thank you very much. Alrighty. Today is Sunday the 17th of August. I'm doing this a little bit early because I have an announcement to make towards the end of the video. And we'll explain why I'm doing this video a little bit early. But I've been trying to get on here every 2 weeks right before I do an infusion because that's the best of the cycle. And this time is way better than the last video. And for those of you who watched that video, and thank you, it was a bad day. It was simply a bad day. So, that Tuesday, 2 weeks ago, I went in for infusion number 8. Whenever I go up to OHSU, they need to verify who I am 42,000 times. At least that's what it feels like. It's not 42,000 times, but it's a lot because you go into the sign-in desk and they want your last name and they want your birthday, so you tell them. And then they put a wristband on that has your name and your birthday, and they tell you to go over to get your lab work done. I go over to the lab work, they call my name Audrey, and I get up there and they go, "Can you verify who you are?" Audrey Walster, birthday. Go in, they insert the tubing into the port, send me up to floor 9. Walk onto floor 9, there's the sign-in desk, and they want me to verify who I am. Audrey Walster, birthday. Then we go back to the waiting room, and the nurse comes out, and she calls my name, and she wants to verify who I am. Audrey Walster, birthday. And she takes me over to the exam room. Well, the provider was running late and Mark had to go use the restroom, so I decided to be, what word shall I use to describe? Sneaky. My friend Becky Crafty Mama here on flosstube and over on Instagram had sent me a cancer care package. And there was a blanket in there and socks in there and a cup in there, and a notebook in there, and a card in there, and a bag of wooden hugs. Just said hug. And I had taken that with me. So while I was in the exam room, I kind of hid a couple of hugs around the room in the hopes that somebody would see them and maybe somebody would take them. That was the game plan. So, thank you, Becky. Thank you. Anyway, I saw the provider for the day, and she was asking me all the questions she usually does. Am I in any pain? What are my current issues? Blah, 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 blah. And I told her neuropathy. It is neuropathy. So we talked about that. I feel it in my feet. I feel it in my ankles, especially in my finger, just tapping them. If you have neuropathy, you understand. If you don't, just don't. It's weird. Everything's weird. It's weird. I look like Ron Howard. Yeah, maybe, kinda, sorta. How bizarre is that? So anyway, her comment was that maybe we could do something with the oxaliplatin, which is the one that causes the hair loss, the cold sensitivity, the neuropathy. she goes, we could reduce it again because they had reduced it once before. We could not do it at all, or we could just do the regular treatment. And she asked me how I felt about that, and I said, well, not doing it at all would be nice. Reducing it would be okay. If we have to do the whole treatment, that's what we have to do. And she said, okay. She would talk with my lead doctor. There's a whole team of people for me. Anybody who's gone through cancer knows you have a team. I have a team. So she sent me up to floor 11 where they do the infusions. And I walk in there, and floor 11 you have to wear a mask. They have a whole bunch of them there. Put the mask on. You can't see me. I do cover the nose. I know better than to do this. Anyway, there happened to be two people sitting behind the desk, and when we came off the elevator, it was really easy to see that they were having a fun conversation. So I walk up to the desk, and they asked me to verify myself. Audrey Walster, birthday. And I have 14 kids and 59 cats. And the second young lady behind the desk looked at me and goes, "You've had 14 kids?" And I said no, and I started laughing. People all the way across the room on this side busted out laughing because they knew I played that girl. It's me. It's what I do. So we went and sat because we have to wait until they come out and call me. And when we did so, I took a handful of those wooden hugs and I dropped them on the table between where Mark and I were sitting. And then the nurse comes out and calls my name. And of course, she has seen me a half a dozen times already. She knows who I am. "Can you verify who you are?" "Audrey Walster, birthday." She takes me back into the infusion room, brings my nurse in. Guess what he wants to know? "Can you verify who you are?" I'm telling you people, it's like 42,000 times. Every time they change from one infusion bag to another, they scan my bracelet and they ask me to verify who I am. And I said, "Don't you trust your bracelet? You verified me 20 times already today. Don't you trust your bracelet? Can you please just tell us who you are?" Fine. Audrey Walster, 420. Oops, I'm giving you my birthday. Yeah. I've also told them that I was Princess Leia, may the 4th be with you, and they wouldn't take that one. But anyway, habit. Say my name, say my birthday. So, the nurse that had brought us in, I gave her the cancer box that Becky had sent to me. There were things in there like the blankets and the socks. I have the fattest ankles ever, and regular socks just cut circulation off. And I knew I couldn't wear those, and I don't like wearing socks anyway, for that reason. I knew I wouldn't use the blanket because I've got 1, 2 blankets. I've got a third one in my basket. I have blankets. The drinking cups, I have so many metal drinking cups, it's ridiculous. And I need to go through and clean house again and send them on to Goodwill. But I gave the box with the things that I knew that I wouldn't use to my nurse, and I asked her, "Can you find a home for these?" And she did. She found somebody who was really, really happy to get them. So, Becky, thank you so much again for your gift. I appreciate it so much. I kept the Whack-A-Doll, and I've used it. But the things that I couldn't use got passed on to somebody who really appreciated it, and so your gift has been loved and passed on. Alrighty. Nurse finally came back in and told me that the provider had decided we were not going to do the oxaliplatin this go round, which took 2.5 hours off the length of time we were up there, and I was so pleased with that. When we headed home, I made Mark stop at one of my favorite coffee stands. Excuse me, hiccups. One of my favorite coffee stands, the Human Bean, and got an 16-ounce iced non-fat white mocha, just so you know what I like to drink. And we pull away, and I take a sip of it, and I didn't get the throat constriction from the cold feeling that the oxaliplatin does, and it was like, I get to enjoy an iced coffee. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. So wonderful. We went back up on Thursday for them to remove the pump from my port. I was so tickled when I walked into the waiting room on floor 11 that there was only one hug left on the table. So hugs have been passed on too, Becky. All right. Yeah. I think that's all I want to talk about. This. So in my last video, I was showing you that I had finished the stitching on my little alien baby, and I was hand stitching my my finished piece together because my sewing machine stopped working on me. To the person who told me to check the needle, thank you, it was the needle. And there's a story about that I have to share before I go on and show this. So with the hair loss up here, my eyelashes have gotten very, very short. I no longer have a mustache. I mean, it's smooth. It's so smooth. Smoothest skin I've had in years. Because usually I shave it. My family, the females, we get a blonde mustache. And I don't want a mustache. It's bad enough having bad comb over hair, but adding a mustache is just no. So all of this has been so smooth, and on this, oh, it's just so smooth. But right here, there is this one persistent chin hair that says, chemo, bite me. And it comes out and it's there and I feel it and it's like, oh my God, just get long enough so that I can pluck you. Because that one chin hair, nowhere else, right there, right there. I decided to go upstairs and figure out why my sewing machine wasn't working. And I unscrewed the little thing that holds the needle in, and the needle immediately dropped into the slot in the bottom and dropped through the bobbin. How? I don't know how. I can't grab anything with these fingers. So I came downstairs and I got my surgical clamps. And I went back upstairs and I'm trying to grab the needle from inside the case and push it back up, and that's not working. So I lay my sewing machine on its side and I managed to get the needle, I mean just barely above there. And it reminded me of the chin hair. So I took the surgical clamp and I grabbed it and I pulled it out, and then I think it took me about 20 minutes to get that needle back where it's supposed to be because of the neuropathy. But my sewing machine is working again. So to the lady who suggested that I check the needle, it was an adventure, but it was the needle. Anyway, going back to what I was saying, I finished hand stitching all around my Alien Baby Reaper, or Free Hug as it's called in the Just Cross Stitch Halloween 2025 magazine. And I started stuffing it. And I'm telling you, stuffing that scythe was just, it took a lot. It took a lot. But this is Alien Baby Reaper. And he is adorable. And I love him so much. This is the fabric that I used on the back of it. I've used it on many things. I've just got the tiniest piece left. But I had enough to do this. And then I fussy cut the piece on the bottom because there's an alien. Yeah. So, and if you look right up here, I've got my alien babies. I could set him up there. Well, I could, if he'd balance. So there you are. It's my alien babies. I need to clean out my bookshelf here and put other stuff there because I have lots of stuff. Alrighty, let me check my notes because I have notes. So infusions are on Tuesdays, and normally when I get home, I'm wiped out. I mean, I've done nothing but sit in a chair the whole time up there, but they've given me the 2 infusions up there and they've attached the brick to me, and I come home and I sit in my chair and I fall asleep because I am so wiped out. Acorns and Threads has a Zoom group that is hosted by Margaret, and she does the meetings on the first and I think third Tuesdays of the month. So there was a Zoom that night, and I realized it was almost time for it to start, and I went and got myself all set up in the kitchen so that I could Zoom because I was actually feeling pretty decent. And Margaret got Jeannine to be, I think Margaret set us all up for this Zoom because Jeannine was in the shop and Margaret goes, "Oh, didn't you get some new fabrics in today?" So Jeannine proceeded to show off fabrics, and people on the Zoom go, "What size is that again? I'll take it. Can you put my name down for that piece?" Yeah, I think we were set up. But she was showing some primitive hair fabrics that she got. And I love the primitive hair fabrics. They are a stamped fabric. So this is how they come all wrapped up. This one is called Goth Night. It is a 30 count fabric. Can you see that? It's printed with bats and pumpkins and skulls and more bats and one of those things that I don't like, and yeah. So you stitch inside the border here. I know that the primitive hair will have a pattern that goes inside that, but I also know that I can stitch something else. I can stitch whatever I want inside of that. So I had to get that one. And then the second one that I got, I know that I have stitched on before. This one is called Dark Spell. And I just love this so much. So much. And who knew? I bought this just because I liked it. But then I found a pattern that was made to go on 30 count Dark Spell. But I'm going to share that later. Did I tell you I have an announcement to share towards the end? Anyway, I didn't stay on the Zoom very long. I usually never do on Tuesday nights just because I get tired. But I think we were set up that night to do a lot of shopping through Zoom because everybody was going, me please, can you put me down for that one? Can you get... Yeah. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Jeannine. Alrighty. On Tuesday, I stitched. Got all my stitching down here. There is a guy who has a YouTube channel, Cross Stitch and Cambria, and someone had sent me a link to his videos, because he had stitched Medicine and Poison. He stitched it long before I ever saw it, so he's not part of the hashtag Poison Sal. He stitched the cover photo for Medicine and Poison. I think he only has two or three videos out that are cross-stitch related. He also does other things on his channel. And he didn't talk much about this one, but he talked about the frame and the layout of the photo, and yeah. So on Tuesday I was stitching on this. And it's getting there. People, it's getting there. Although, it's also being a pita. And if you understand what a pita is, P-I-T-A, pain in the... yeah. So this is where I'm at. I decided that I was going to come in and I was going to stitch the rest of the Poison. I had just stitched the top color, and I think there's like 5 colors in each letter. Each one of these letters I stitched, and I unpicked, and I restitched. The P, I didn't realize that I had stitched the second darkest color already. So when I got to that color on this letter here, I went over and I stitched 3 more rows, and then I came down and I stitched the darkest color. And I'm always checking to see where things are matching up, because this is my reference point now down here. And it wasn't matching up. So I went back and I looked and I realized it's 3 rows too long. Unpick it, restitch it, move on. Go to the O, completely miss a color. So the part that crosses over was too high. Stitch the bottom of it, it's not lining up. Go back and look at it, realize I made my mistake, unstitch it again, restitch it. Repeat with the S, because you do. With the I decided to make it too long. Finally, when I got to this O, I had learned from those 4, and I counted and double counted and double counted, and I got them all done there, and I was like, and then I went back and I stitched some more on this inner color here, because I need to finish this before I finish the bottom row, but then the bottom will be done. So this is Medicine and Poison by the Witchy Stitcher. It is hashtag PoisonSal on Instagram. I have been stitching this with Helen D, East Coast Crafter, Michele, Maine Moose Mom, Marissa M. Kissa, and Carolee of Stitching is Elementary. And the other day I noticed on Instagram that Montana Stitcher, her name is Dovie, she is also stitching it and using the hashtag. So thank you very much for joining the Sal. Where to put things? Okay. That evening, this was last Tuesday, by the way, not Infusion Tuesday. That evening, my granddaughter, Rowan, texted me and wanted to know if she could come over and use our printer for her school, for one of her pages that she had to turn in. They have a printer and apparently it's not working. That's okay. We got her taken care of. So she came over and, you know, I'm texting her and I said, if you're coming over, can you get me an iced coffee? And she said, sure. And then she texts back, oh crap, I don't have my car. And I said, well, that's okay. You can walk over to my house and take my car and go get me coffee. And she did. The next day, Mark and I were going somewhere and he goes, what did you do to the driver's seat? I said, I didn't do anything to the driver's seat. The granddaughter adjusted it so that she could drive my car. And Mark didn't fit anymore. So she came over. She was telling me that last week was the 8th week of her 10-week program to become an EMT. And I asked her what the plans were for after it, because I know she wants to try to be hired on at a fire department so she can cross-train as a fireman and other things. And she said, well, no, that's kind of changed a little bit. And she goes, I'm going to finish this course, and then she's going to go through the same community college that she's in and take their EMT course and get the qualifications there. And then next spring, she's hoping to get on with the fire department, and it would be nice if it would be Silverton. But whatever. We'll take whatever. I am so proud of her. She is 18 years old, and she has a plan, and she's following her plan, and she's working her butt off, and she's doing it, and I'm so proud of this girl, because at 18 I was dumb. I married her grandfather, but I have to be thankful for him, because without him I wouldn't have my daughter, and without my daughter I wouldn't have the grand, so Mark is still my upgrade. If you follow my channel, I've been putting up shorts because, you know, they're 15 seconds long and it's something that I can handle. This morning he had my teacup ready for me, and the coffee pot, the teapot on the stove all ready to go for me. So I had to show a picture of that because he does it quite often. And it's a simple thing, but it means so much. Anyway, going back to the granddaughter. I am so proud of her. So I had purchased the Mill Hill. What are they called? First Responder Santas. This is the EMT one, obviously. Need to have the EMT Santa for my granddaughter. I had posted a short on picking which floss bed to pick, and the decision was solely how many holes does the floss drop have. This one has 20 holes in it, and there's 20 colors of thread, so I chose the coffin. And I spent an afternoon getting this all situated. And then on the back of it, I take a pencil and I write the numbers going down one side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and up from the bottom, 11 to 20. And I number the colors on the chart so that I know which hole these are in. And I got it started. And this is where I'm at. So this is part of Santa's pant legs. This is his his response bag. This is part of the dog down below. Like I said, my granddaughter has 2 Mastiffs. These are Golden Retrievers, which is okay. It has a dog on there. That's the important thing. I don't know. I mean, Mill Hill kits don't take me very long to do. There's a part of me that thinks maybe I should get this done before she finishes her course and give it to her then. Part of me says save it for Christmas. Tell me what to do. Alright, I'm going to stop here for a moment. My record time is about to run out on this session, so I will be right back. I just have to start it over again. My phone was buzzing. I had a text message from my son. Apparently tomorrow Krispy Kreme is going to start offering Hogwarts donuts, and he sent me this picture. Load. I don't need Krispy Kreme donuts. They would blow up my blood sugars, so we're just not going to even try there. We're not going to try there. All right. Talked about Tuesday, talked about my granddaughter Rowan coming over. On Wednesday, my daughter came over to introduce Mark and I to her new beau. She seems to be in the thralls of first love. He's a very nice man. We spent some time chatting with them. Mark got to take him out to the shop and show him the Jeep. Mark is having to rebuild the transmission on the Jeep because the last time he and Philip took it somewhere, it had problems. And when he took it apart, he said there's all sorts of metal bits in there, so he's rebuilding the whole transmission again. Which means he's not playing with my garden. I know, I'll get over it. I can't play in my garden, so... But it looks like a desert out there right now. Anyway, Thursday I got to do a Zoom with a friend of mine. Her name is Sharon. So again, I'm set up in the kitchen, and I decided that the simplest thing that I could stitch on would be my Spooky Moths. This is the Halloween 2025 Just Cross Stitch. This is where I got my Grim Reaper. And then I decided that I wanted to do a couple of other pieces in here, and one of them, Fingers Work. Neuropathy, no fun. I decided that I was going to stitch some of the Spooky Moths, and the one that I'm currently working on is this one. So what I had done with this is I had finished the border. Okay. There's a needle there. Pull it through. Tuck it through the end of the paper. What I had done is I had gone around and I had done all three colors of the green outer border. All DMC colors. The bottom and the tips of this are DMC 12, which it's not a neon color, but next to the green it is. It looks like it's a neon color. Anyway, it's simply gorgeous. I then went in and I did all of the first color of purple inner border all the way around. So all I had to do was work on filling in the lighter purple, the darker purple inside the spaces. And I think I had this section done there, and I got most of this stitched while Sharon and I were Zooming. So I thank her very much for asking me if I wanted to Zoom with her. I don't know what it is about Zoom, but every time I try to get onto somebody's Zoom session, whether it's Margaret's or this one with Sharon, I have the worst possible time. This time I managed to sign me up on Sharon's Zoom as twice and couldn't figure out why we kept getting this echo every time we said something. And finally realized that if I went to one of the Audreys and deleted her, the echo went away. So, yeah, have to, every time I get on a Zoom. Every time. So the other thing that I am stitching from the Just Cross Stitch is my full coverage piece. And I know there are some of you that may have scoffed at me for saying it's a full coverage piece, but it is a full coverage piece. Because when it's put together, all you're going to see is stitches. And it's little Frankie. It's little Frankie. Magnets. Holding thread and stuff on the back of this that I don't need. Ermagerd. Okay, little Frankie. So I realized, I think when I showed it last time, I didn't have the outline of this top green part done. So I finished that. And then I came down and I started stitching some of the green here. And then I thought, I need to stitch the eyes. I need to get them out of the way because it's going to be easier to stitch them and then stitch the green around them. This piece, let me grab the magazine, see if I can find the page. This piece is recommended to be stitched on a Lugana. I am stitching it on 14 count Aida. Anytime I do full coverage, I stitch it on 14 count Aida. It's just my preference. It's the way I am. These eyes have 42,000 quarter stitches. Might be a slight exaggeration, but it felt like 42,000 quarter stitches. It's a little bit harder to do on Aida than it is on a Lugana, an even weave, or a linen, because you have to pierce the center of the square. Take a sharper needle, take a sharper needle. I've got a little bat needle here, and I can use this because it's nice and sharp to pierce the center of the square to do the stitches. Well, I could do that. Did I do that? No, I just used my regular needle because I'm old and I'm lazy and I'm just. But I did it. Now there are some hints that I will give you. First of all, yell at it. It helps. Make it yours. Tell it who's boss. And if that doesn't work, there's always the option of throwing it across the room. I didn't, because that would have meant I had to crawl out of my chair and go pick it up, and I wasn't going to do that because I'm lazy. But I got those eyes done, and I stitched some of the green around it. And then I went back and I stitched some more of the black up here, and I think I'm using a length of thread at a time to get him stitched, but I think he is going to be adorable. And there will be back stitching around the eyes too, which is not a big deal either. I can handle all of it. Just remember, if you're doing quarter stitches on Aida, own the fabric. Make it yours. And you know what word I want to put in there, but I'm not going to. Starts with a B, rhymes with witch. And again, the thread falls to the floor. Alrighty. Today's Sunday. Friday, Mark told me there was an estate sale that he wanted to go to, and if I was feeling up to it, did I want to go? And like I said, I've been feeling better this session, which is good. Which is good. Where did I put it? Oh, I set my book on it. So we got up and we went and found a couple of garage sales and looked around those. Didn't find anything that I wanted. But we still had an hour till the estate sale started, so we came back home and I rested because it's exhausting. 10-15 minutes is generally my max of standing up and moving around and doing anything in the house before I have to sit down again and just go. Glad that's done with. But we went to the estate sale, and all the stuff that was there was like mostly for men. Men's clothes, men's tools, men's this, men's that. There was other stuff around there. There were some picture frames. There were a lot of books. Nothing that I could use. All the frames were plastic, and I kind of tend to go towards wood if I can. But then I saw this. And it's a wooden plaque. It still has the tag on the back, so I don't know if it's available or not. But do you remember a couple years ago when I was stitching on the trolls, Don't Feed the Trolls? I wanted to finish it on something like this, and I was going to make it myself, but I didn't get around to it because lazy. And I hadn't talked Mark into doing it, and then this came along. I don't know if it's big enough for my trolls to fit on there, but I'm going to try, and it was 50 cents. I couldn't pass it up. So, garage sale find. If you've ever noticed on my videos, I don't do anything in order. I don't sit down and go, this is my new starts, and this is my whips, and this is my finishes, and my fully finishes, and my haul. I'm organic. Organic. Right. Still have more stitching, and I still have some haul. So, which do I want to do first? I'm going to go back to my first responder Santa. See, the reason I'm wearing the hat is if I bent over and you had it on camera, you would see how bad the comb over hair is. The hat is a new feature of my videos until I have hair again. Every time I say something about my hair to Mark, he goes, don't worry, you'll get new hair. I'll also get that one chin hair that's stubborn and doesn't care whether I'm on chemo or not. When I was filling my coffin with flosses, there are so many colors in here that there's 20 colors, and sometimes telling them apart is a real difficult thing to do. Several years ago, somebody showed one of these, the DMC floss books, and I went to Acorns and Threads and they had them and I bought it, and I think it was $35 at the time. I think it might still be a similar price, but it opens up and it has all the colors. So when I'm setting myself up with a mill hill, especially like this one with 20 different colors, and some of the oranges being so close to each other, I get this out and I use it. I lay this floss across the matching color in here to make sure that I've got the right color, and then I can put it on my thread holder. It's a real simple thing to do if you don't have a DMC book. If you're a DMC stitcher, I highly recommend them. You can get them through a needle workshop or Amazon, but you know, if you have a needle workshop, give them the money first if you haven't already bought fabrics from them. I love Acorns and Threads. I miss those people so badly. I want to get up there. I just haven't felt up to it. Although, like I said, with them not doing the oxaliplatin this time, well, no, because my next infusion is Tuesday. Yeah, it's going to be a while before I get up to Acorns and Threads. Makes me sad. All right. This morning, I decided that I was going to stitch on Salem Sisters Stitchery, Primrose Cottage. You want to know how lazy I am? I went and put all the flosses on a ring, and when I store it, I just throw it inside there, and I tuck it into my basket because I can't be bothered with a bag. Salem Sisters Stitchery. This morning, I got this whole row stitched, and those 3 squares there. So I was doing a back stitch for Silks, linen, wool, and buttons. When I'm stitching backstitch like this for words, generally what I do is I come onto the back and I will weave my thread through the bottom of these stitches up here to anchor it good. And then I come down and I'll stitch all of those, and I'll come over and I'll stitch all of these, and I'll come over. And it makes for, I don't know, it looks like it could be Vulcan writing, Klingon writing, whatever. But I got all of those done, and I got all the little stars done in between them, and I love the colors on this piece. I have a round frame that I hope this will fit in. Okay. My last thing that I have stitched on these past 2 weeks. And again, I think I've gotten more stitching in these past 2 weeks because they didn't do that first chemo. I still had bad days. That's a given. Days 5, 6, 7. It's a given, and they're horrible days, and we're not dwelling on them. But this is a Teresa Kogut from her Hello Spring book. For everybody who deals with glare when they're showing something, you got glare right there. If you tilt your top forward, the light moves past it and you get rid of your glare. It works on frames. It works. So this is what it will look like. And this is where I'm at. I have been working on this strawberry over here. I'm stitching on the first color of red, and then the bottom will be, this is DMC 22 and the bottom will be DMC 21. And then there's the little seeds that are in there. And then I'll go back and I'll do some more leaves because I really don't want to tackle the long stem. But I really love this. I love the fabric that it's on. This is 32 count Tombstone Lugana from Atomic Ranch Fabrics. So that's all my stitching that I've gotten done. And like I said, I've done more these last 2 weeks than I have in the past. And it's because this go round I felt better. I made a purchase. And I know a lot of people have been showing this, and I know that Helen D did a flip through of it. And I tried going to the Witchy Stitcher's website to purchase this, but it was already sold out there. And then some way or another I heard that you could get it at Barnes & Noble's. And we have a Barnes & Noble's in Salem, but I just wasn't feeling up to driving in there to get it, so I went to Amazon, which I get too much stuff through Amazon, but right now this is my excuse. Having things delivered to me is better than me go getting them, because 15 minutes of energy is just... If I walk into a bookstore, I want to explore. I want to find something to read. Books. But I got Witchy Stitching. And I sat down and I started reading it. And I know that there are several pages at the front where she gives a lot of basic information. But read them, because she weaves a wonderful story in there. Read them. There's little sections on each page. She calls her grimoire notes. Read them. Don't just get this for the pattern. Read it. Because it's a good book. It's a good book. I'm still reading it. And I slowly started going through and looking at the different patterns that are in here. And one section she has talks about antiquing her cross stitch. And she does it with paint. And so I was looking at this picture and I flipped to the next one and there's no pattern. And this is what I saw. And this fabric is the Primitive Hairs 30 count dark spell that I had purchased the previous Tuesday from Acorns and Threads. So, buy one, find your first stitch from the Witchy Stitcher's book. Magic. I'm telling you people, it's magic. Linda Stoltz, who is Erica Michaels' designer, I watched one of her videos the other day. She was showing her 5 new releases that are going to be coming out on market. The first one is called Autumn Cartouches. I immediately contacted Jeannine and said, when you get this, I need it. It has 3 small pillows in there that are all stitched within a cartouche. And then it has a 4th piece stitched on perforated paper. By the way, did you know that 3 of my projects are on perforated paper? Because I have a thing for it right now. But I was watching her video and she was talking about this little piece that's stitched on the perforated paper that she dyed using Tim Holtz distress sprays or inks or whatever. And I thought, I'm not the only one. Yeah, so go check her out. Get your copy of this. Go through Barnes & Noble if you can, Amazon if you can't, but you know, support the mom and pops. Although Barnes & Noble's is not a mom and pop, but we understand what I mean. All right, the announcement. The announcement. I'm stitching this video today because that's what my brain was going to say. I'm recording this video today on Sunday because tomorrow, Monday, I'm going somewhere. I'm feeling well enough that I'm going to venture out of my house and drive myself without my chauffeur, and I'm going to go to a friend's house. Whose house am I going to? I'm going to go visit with Cheryl, who is one half of Stitching with the Sisterlies, and she also has her own channel out now, which is A Maker's Life. I'm going to list both of those below. Go check out A Maker's Life because she's doing a lot of fun stuff there. But she had invited Anna, Stitch Roadie, Quilt Roadie, and Jeannine, the owner of Acorns and Threads, and myself to come up for a stitchy date. We were doing this on a monthly basis, and I have to pause because I got to start coughing here really bad. Okay. Cough over, drink of water. I'm good. The 4 of us had been doing fairly regular meetups either at Anna's or Cheryl's house prior to me having to deal with cancer. And they still get together. I'm totally jealous. I know that Anna and Cheryl constantly get together. I'm totally jealous. But tomorrow, I'm going to drive up there because I need to see them. I need to see real faces. I need to see real people. And Cheryl has commented, she asked our permission, if she could record part of our visit so that she could share that later on her channel, A Maker's Life. So, that hopefully will give you something to look forward to. It'll make Cheryl put out a video sooner. That's just my personal preference. I can't wait to see all my favorite people's videos because I need to see faces. I got a beautiful card, handmade card from Niecy Lynn. Look at the colors in that. Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so very, very much. I got a package from Helen D, which surprised me because Helen has sent me Mill Hill kits and she's sent me stickers and she sent me little bat pins. But then I opened up this package and it had this wonderful tissue paper around it. And I open it up, and the last thing that I would expect to get from Helen, but I love, is junk journaling stuff. This little bag, and I got a kick out of it, is made out of a page from Harry Potter. And in it is this little pocket with a paper clip and a charm. And you take that out, and there's this wonderful little journal in here with a couple of blank pages in there. There were a couple other cards in there. And then there was a larger one. That is just gorgeous. I don't know what book this is from. The first one to tell was easy because it said the dark mark up at the top. Did I drop something? No. Look at that. Look at that. And then you pull out another little pocket from inside there. Look at that staircase. Personally, I love Thing. Love it so much. And just a couple of little journal cards to go inside that. Thank you so much, Helen. You've actually inspired me for doing something in my journal, so yeah. Anyway, I think that is everything that I have to share with you today. I want to thank you for coming and visiting with me, for liking and hopefully subscribing. I get a kick out of my subscriber count because it stays the same. And it has I've been doing videos for almost 8 years, and I have a nice number of subscribers, and I'm not complaining about that at all. But when I go and I look at messages that are, or comments that are sent, the first page always comes up and it shows your subscriber count. And mine's at this number. And the next day it goes up 2. And I'm like, oh, cool, that's nice. And the next day it goes down 3. And then it goes up 1. And it goes down 2. And it goes up 5. And it goes down 1. Basically, it stays at the same number. And it will do this for months. So if you think you're subscribed to me and you want to be, please go double check and hit the subscribe again if YouTube has kicked you off, because it's done that to me with several people. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you enjoyed any part of this video at all, thank you very much. Please subscribe to me. I would like to see that number go up and stay up. And if it doesn't, I'm still going to do videos because I need you. Anyway, until we meet again, my friends, live long and stitch on. Bye-bye. Comb over hair. Not good.